Hallmarkies and sleuthers. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. Today we are doing our mystery recap, talking about the 4 mystery movies that aired recently. I am Jess, your host for today, and with me I have Caroline.
Hey, y'all.
And Anne.
Hi, everybody.
So we had 4 new ones that recently aired, and our first one was the new Mystery 101 and Education and Murder. So I don't know about you guys, but I was so ready for this particular one. Were you guys really excited for this particular movie to air, or one of your favorite series, or how do you guys feel about it?
I love this series. It's one of my favorites, and ever since they started filming, I was ready for this one because I knew something was going to happen, and I was just I need to see it. I need it.
Yeah, I definitely say I was ready too. I think Mystery 101 is my favorite series. So I was really ready. I'm always ready when they have a new one of these. And I was really hoping something special would happen in this one, which we'll talk about. And
Yeah.
So I was thrilled. When it was coming, I was really excited.
Yeah, I think I would agree. It's probably my favorite of the mystery series. So we know that Mystery 101 stars Jill Wagner and Chris Palaha as lovely Amy Winslow and Detective Travis Burke, and is written by John Christian Plummer, who I think is a really, really fantastic writer. And so in this one, there was a man named Mac McKinnon, and according to the reports they had, he murdered a fellow professor, Nicole Ford, over some forged Mark Twain pages, supposedly. Mac maintained his innocence kind of throughout the whole thing. And so the case kind of gets brought up because there is a writer named Ella Quincy who's going to write a book about the case. And so she starts talking to Amy about it. And so did you guys have any initial thoughts on Mac? And, did you believe that he was innocent or anything like that?
I hoped he was innocent the whole time because I love the actor Steve Basic, and so he can't be the bad guy. So just on that alone, I was like, good guy.
Yeah, I was like, I really hope he didn't do it. But at the beginning, I kind of wasn't sure. But I was really hoping. I was like, please tell me he didn't do this. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's very, very hopeful on his innocence. And so let's start with just the mystery portion, and then we'll kind of get into the fun Amy and Travis stuff last. Okay, so we had many different characters here. So we had Ella Quincy, who was the writer. We have Blake Newman, who was in Amy's class, and we learn that he gets this publishing offer on a book, Murder While I Smile, which I think is a very odd title for a book.
Yeah,
that is.
We have Howard Clausen, who was the original detective on the case. We also have Linda, who was Mac McKinnon's wife, as well as Nicole Ford's husband, Dwight Merrill. So let's talk about Ella Quincy. So she was the writer, and she was a little mysterious. She when she talked with Amy, she didn't want to kind of give up all of her information. Was she someone you guys suspected at all, or did you think she was just a writer, keeping her secrets kind of thing, like a reporter almost?
At first I thought no, she was just a writer, but then as it went on, I'm like, oh, maybe she did do it, but then I just kept going back and forth, but at first I didn't think she was she was low on my list.
Yeah, I definitely felt like she was one of the people they for sure tried to sell us that she could have done it, tried to sell us as the person, but I wasn't that suspicious of her because it seemed like they were trying to sell it too much. But yeah. I mean, I could see how she could be suspicious for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because she didn't want to give up her information, which I can kind of see. But I believe because there was at one point where because she wanted to talk to Mac McKinnon, and he at first didn't respond to her, and then Amy kind of got him to give okay, we'll do it, but you have to tell us why you think he's innocent. And she didn't give up that information even then. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Like, you're getting the opportunity to talk to the man, and
Yeah.
you still won't give it up.
Yeah, that was weird.
And let's talk about this detective, Howard Clausen. He's a bit of a character. I mean, I kind of get his point. You know, that the case was originally his with Mac and the murdered woman Nicole, and obviously he believes that Mac is guilty, or he wouldn't have put him in prison. Do you guys think he was overly defensive of kind of his position, or do you think that's pretty on par with what you would think for maybe a detective who's just a little protective of?
I think it was like just being a detective. Like, this is like my case. Like, I did it. Like, I know what happened and all that stuff. Like, I didn't think he was like over dramatic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I thought, okay, so he, at one point when Amy came outside, he like tried to corner her, right?
Yeah, and he also left the original note on her car outside of the jail, I think, that said stay away. So, yeah, I think I understood his feelings, but he just took it way too far.
Yeah.
Because according to the evidence he had, they found the strychnine, which was the poison that killed Nicole. They found it in Mac's safe. I mean, it seemed like a pretty open and shut case. You know, they had been seen arguing and all of that. And what I thought was really, this is kind of going into the Travis and Amy, but while we're on it, I really liked that Travis stood up for Amy when Howard was all like, you know, this girl's poking her nose in this, and, you know, kind of, you need to get her to stand down. And Travis was like, well, if you've got nothing to hide, we've got nothing to worry about. And I really thought that was really, really neat that he stood up for Amy, because sometimes detectives, you know, they got the code, you know, and they'll just stand up for each other. So I thought that was really nice that he stood up for Amy, even though he agreed, you know, stop poking your nose in other people's business. And so then we have Linda, who is Mac's wife, who was supposedly out of town the night of the murder at some yoga retreat called Sky Mountain. And what Amy thinks is a little suspicious is that there's no photos of Mac anymore in Linda's pictures. Like, it's like she's basically removed him from her life. So I don't know if I would see that as quite. I mean, if you think if your husband has been put away for murder, I mean, I probably want to move on too at that point.
Yeah, I would. I mean,
but, sorry.
I mean, they think he's a murderer. Like, I wouldn't want pictures of my murderer husband floating around my house for people to come in and see.
Yeah, that's my husband. Like, he's not here. Like,
yeah, he's in jail. He killed a woman. No big deal. Yeah, but I still love him. It's so good. And then we also have Nicole's husband, Dwight, and he was like a therapist of some sort. And what was interesting about this Dwight guy, he came to the book reading for Amy's dad. He came to the book reading, but he was clearly not there for the books, because he totally bought, you know, Amy so cleverly. It's like, oh yeah, this book's your favorite, right? And he's like, oh yeah, and that wasn't a real book.
That was good on Amy. Like,
yeah.
That was definitely super clever of her. I think I was really confused with him at first. I didn't really know who I think we had been told he was the husband, but I was like, okay, I don't understand. Like, why is he here? What does he have to do with any of this?
Yeah. It seemed kind of confusing when it first happens. Like, who is this guy? Like, what is he doing?
Yeah. I had to like go back and like, okay, yeah, he's the husband. Okay, yeah.
Yes. But we finally kind of get to how he kind of gets involved, because we learn through Amy's, you know, very resourceful digging, that there was another professor at a different college, Grover College in Oregon, who was also poisoned using strychnine. And she's like, okay, this is a little suspicious. It's a very, very similar case. And apparently Amy goes to the college and talks to somebody, I don't know who it was, but she learns that this professor believed that one of her students was plagiarizing. The guy's name was Bobby Hearst, and they had published it in their literary magazine. And then we learned that Jill, this professor, her therapist was Dwight. So she had been seeing Dwight. So we're starting to put some pieces together. And I think it's around this point in the movie that Amy, I have to laugh at the scene. Amy goes down in the basement and is looking for some old records, and somebody turns out the light and like topples over the shelves on her, and she just goes, "Ow!" like or something. I'm like, that was so like, why are you screaming? Like somebody is like trying to kill you.
Obviously, trying to attack you. Yeah.
I was like, that's like the smallest reaction to
what was happening. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I would have been shrieking my mind out.
Oh, me too.
I would have been crying. Like,
you're in the dark.
Yeah.
And then Amy starts to put more pieces together. She learned that Ella Quincy went to Grover College, where this other professor taught, and that she was a work-study student for Jill. So now we have Ella is connected to this other professor who also died under very suspicious circumstances, much like Nicole Ford did. However, that doesn't go very far because Ella turns up dead.
There goes our red herring.
Yeah, so now we know that, well, Ella is probably not the killer because someone just killed her, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then Travis and Amy do some more digging, and they also pay a visit to Mac, and they learn that Mac and Nicole were in love. And they were discussing divorcing their spouses, and I think it was Nicole had said, if you don't tell Linda, then I will.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're really getting, okay, so we have Mac. He was married to Linda, but he was clearly in love with Nicole, who was married to Dwight. And now we got all these complicated relationships. And by this point, my mind just like can't even keep up because I don't even know what's happening anymore. And so I guess before we get any farther, like, who did you guys originally suspect? Did you have someone in mind through all this or up to this point? Did you have someone you were like, I think it's this person?
I thought it was his wife, that did it, like, at first.
That Linda did it?
Yeah. And I did not get the person who did it. Like, I did not guess right. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she definitely had motive. Her husband was about to leave her, in theory, for Nicole. So there's definitely some motive there. How about you, Anne?
Yeah, I'll tell you guys my secret to solving these, which is not really a secret, but I always think it's somebody that it's not. So the person I thought, like, okay, I really thought it was the wife too, but usually what I do is I go, okay, so I think it's the wife, but I'm like, it's always the person, a new person that's been introduced that seems to have no purpose. So then I always think when I'm watching the movie, I think, okay, who's a new person that's introduced that seems to have no purpose so far? And that they've either very lightly grazed over or haven't even suspected at all. And it's usually always that person. And so this time I did end up guessing correctly. We get to the person because I was like, this person was introduced and they seem to have no like purpose to be in this movie really. And then that's who it was. But my instinct was telling me, okay, I think it's the wife from what they were kind of trying to sell us.
Yeah, this was out of all four, this was the only movie that I got the person correct on that I guessed correctly. I'll get into a little bit more. But I try not to make a guess until like halfway through because you just don't have enough information by that point. But yeah, so I think that Amy and Travis were also suspecting the wife Linda because they stake out her house and they follow her to Dwight's and they learn that both Linda and Dwight were at the retreat at Sky Mountain, but not for yoga as Linda had said. It was actually a retreat for substance abuse. And apparently that Dwight went to the book signing, we also learned then, because he wanted to convince Ella not to write the book. So obviously, like we knew, he was not there for Graham's books, but he was there to talk to Ella. Because obviously there was a lot of complicated secrets here that would get revealed through this book. And so it's around this time Amy starts putting all the dots together. She's like, everybody in this case is connected through literature. And so we have Nicole Ford, who she learns was involved in the same magazine that had that students plagiarized article. They start putting more and more pieces together. And so then in the big reveal, Travis and Amy go to visit Blake, and cleverly, to kind of out the person here, they ask for security cam footage from the bookstore of the night of the reading. And they see him that he hands Ella a paper, and on it says, "Don't say anything, let's talk, I'll make it worth it." And so then Amy is able to connect Blake to Bobby, who was the person who wrote the plagiarized article. It's the same person with two names, so he's using an alias. And then I guess he had submitted something that Nicole recognized from her time at Grover College, and so Nicole realized, oh, this was the plagiarizing student, and so he killed her. So yeah, Anne, you said you had guessed him correctly?
Yeah, when I went at it from that angle that I told you, then I was like, okay, Blake doesn't seem to really have that much of a purpose in this film, and he was introduced for some reason. I was like, so I think it's going to end up being him, because it's the person that they don't really ever talk about, and then all of a sudden it's like they come out of right field, like, oh, it's this person. And so he was just the guess that I had, and happened to be right this time. So
right. Yeah, I think that was kind of my thing too. Like, they brought in this new student at the very beginning with this book, and he didn't really seem to have a purpose. And then they had the random plagiarizing students angle, and I'm like, as soon as I heard the thing about plagiarizing, I'm like, this other guy's a writer. He's plagiarizing something. And so I got suspicious of him once I kind of like hooked on that the plagiarizing angle was the big thing in the what I thought was the reason for the murder. Yeah, and then we have the big takedown scene, because of course he doesn't just surrender. He has to.
Of course, it's
run.
always yeah, struggle, chase,
Yeah. What did you guys think of that takedown scene?
I remember laughing. I don't know. I can't remember it that clearly, but I remember laughing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was a little silly. I thought the pair of scissors looked like so fake. Like they looked like they were made out of cardboard, and I was like,
or something.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that was kind of bad, a little cringeworthy, but it was all good in the end. But
funny. They're always the takedowns are always funny to watch for me.
Yeah. So now let's get to the real point. We are all watching this episode. Amy and Travis. Okay, I feel it was the movie before, they had almost kissed and they got interrupted. Did they get interrupted by Graham, or was it somebody else?
I think it was Graham.
Graham, so the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny because then in this movie he interrupts them again.
I know. I was like, come on, man. They're trying to have a moment. Can you just go away?
Yeah, because
let her be happy.
But then I loved when I think they were just together discussing the case, and they were eating dinner. Then Travis leans forward, he's like, you know what we're missing right now? Your dad. I was like,
that was so funny.
That was funny.
I just died. I love that line because it's so true.
That was really good.
It's like couples in these movies are always getting interrupted, and they never just like be like, you know what? Like, people keep interrupting us.
Their chemistry is just amazing anyway. So
they just have amazing the best chemistry to me of any of the mystery couples.
And then of course at the end we finally get our kiss that we've been waiting for 5 movies.
I kept saying, if they don't do this now, and because of this pandemic, we can't have filming for like months. Like, if they don't do this now, I will scream.
I know, because I think most of us probably thought, I think last movie that they were finally going to, but then of course they get interrupted. But so we finally got our kiss. Finally,
I was so excited.
Yeah.
I was like squealing on my couch.
Me too. I'm like, ah.
Yeah. I think one of the things I really love about these two is they have such good banter. Like, there was another scene I forgot to mention where they're going over the notes together, and he's like teasing her because she was on the honor roll. And, I forget what she said, but he's like, she's like, oh, you're gonna tease me about that too? He's like, no, I'm gonna file it away and tease you later. And it's like,
Yes.
so funny.
They're so cute.
They're
I
so
know.
cute.
Like, I
Great
love their
banter.
banter. But okay, so how did you guys feel about this in the series? Did you like this one better than the other ones so far?
Strictly of the mysteries, I think it's about like the same, but because of the kiss, it just elevated like tenfold. So it's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So just because of the kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's like in my top 2. I mean, the kiss obviously makes it better. But in terms of the mystery part, I would say, yeah, in the top 2 of the Mystery 101 for me. So yeah, it was good. And the kiss was extra good. So
yeah, finally got it. Now we get to see what happens next.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was my favorite so far of the whole series. I just loved it. What would you guys rate it overall from 1 to 5 stars?
4.75 out of 5.
Very high.
Yes.
I think 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think I'd also give it the same 4.5. It is those scissors, man. I cannot get over the scissors. Looking like cardboard.
You weren't sold.
No, I was not sold on the scissors, but I did love the episode as a whole. I thought it was funny, and of course, yes, we got our kiss. All right, so moving on to the next one, we had our Ruby Herring prediction murder. And I don't know about you guys, but I was a little surprised, I guess, that they had a whole movie about a psychic. I don't have any issue with it, but I was like, that seems like something Hallmark maybe you wouldn't want to like.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's a little bold for Hallmark.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But yeah, so we have this is the third movie in the series. Yes. And so we have Taylor Cole as Ruby Herring and Stephen Huszar as Detective Jake Killian. And again, it is involving an old murder. And it's the theme, I guess, for now, that there was a psychic who had been killed 5 years earlier. And this one's a little interesting because they really don't, the detectives / Ruby aren't really, nothing really brings them into the case. It's someone draws Ruby into the case by leaving this lovely little note on her door with a riddle, well, not a riddle, more like a poem, I guess, that leads her to some coordinates to a gun that was supposedly part of the psychic's murder. So what were your guys' like initial thoughts on this? Like, oh, someone just leaving these clues on her door randomly from an old murder that nobody's even really thinking about right now.
I love that. Like, it was different. Like, because honestly, sometimes you're like, how did they get involved with this? Like, they really shouldn't. They really shouldn't be getting involved. And so, like, having them giving her the clues and stuff, I like that better instead of them just like jumping in without any need to.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that part. It was different because everybody else just jumps right in, like, but she was drawn into it because they left it there.
Right. Yeah, I think Rachel's mentioned it before that Ruby Herring's like the one like that she kind of has a reason, like she's an investigative reporter. Like that's kind of what they do is like butt their noses into things and like, try to investigate things. That's their job. So it makes a little bit more sense. But obviously this one is a little more personal because they literally put it on her doorstep. Yeah. And I loved, so she called Jake after finding this note. And I love that he had an apron on and it said, keep calm and detective on.
Oh my gosh, that was so great. Whoever said that was a good idea.
That was so funny. Yeah.
Like, oh,
and he looked so cute. It was so funny.
Yeah. He was like trying to make the souffle.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is like,
go ahead.
So different. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean.
On Gourmet Detective, I expect that, but for Jake, to be like this sensitive man who cooks in an apron is just like, I don't know why it's funny, but it's not funny, but it's just sweet and like cute,
Well, I think it's funny. He's cooking he's baking a souffle of all.
Yeah, that's like a hard thing to bake. So
Yeah, and then of course it falls because
yes.
Ruby calls and but they go down to where the coordinates are. They find the revolver in the little lake or whatever, and they bring it to the forensics team to help because the serial number had been scratched off, and they do their little forensics voodoo to get the serial number off of the gun. And so they're able to track the gun to this man named Elijah Bard, who was deceased. So obviously he did not do it unless he came back from the dead. I don't know. This is a psychic murder, so you never know.
Yeah.
But then they realize he has a son named Henry, who sold this gun to a pawn shop. And I think I was really confused on this part when I first watched it. So the psychic's shop is also a pawn shop, and I did not my brain didn't put it together right away.
Yeah, that was kind of
I don't think that was very clear, because I never talked about them together until they went and saw the daughter, and they're like, "Oh, take us to the shop," and it's just in the back. So anyway, they learned the gun was in the possession of Henry Bards. He sold it, and he's also an instructor at a golf course. And then there's another whole backstory thing going on with Ruby as going to some kind of high school reunion, and she of course meets her ex, I think ex-fiance, right? Because they almost got married.
Yeah, ex-fiance.
Yeah, his name's Luke. And so what were you guys' thoughts on Ruby and her ex? What were some initial thoughts there?
I don't know. I just felt it was awkward, and just I could see why they shouldn't be together for sure. I don't know. I was kind of I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, because I like what's his Jake. I was about to call him Steven, but I like
we
her.
Like Steven too.
Yeah, I like Jake and Ruby together, so I was not rooting for Guy.
Yeah, I agree. It was very, very awkward, and he's clearly still interested, and she's like, I left you for I broke up this wedding for a reason, pal.
Exactly. Hello.
Let's get the picture here. Yeah, and it's interesting because again we have a repeating thing here. Is this is not the only movie that deals with the ex, so we have two movies in the mystery series here that deal with exes.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yep.
But anyway, at this reunion thing, Ruby goes with her assistant Derek, who I love. He's hilarious.
Yes.
And so I guess did Derek go to the high school too?
It kind of seemed that way, or at least to me, because he.
Yeah, that's that is how they made it seem.
Because they didn't explicitly say it, but he's like, yeah, I gotta go redeem myself in this dance-off battle. I'm like, okay. All right.
Which that was so I was like, wow, a dance battle in a Hallmark movie. Okay,
I'm gonna jump ahead for a second here while we're on this. We did not get to see enough of that dance battle. I was I'm ready for a full out step up version of a dance off here.
Yeah. It was they just did a little hook, and then they were like, okay, we're done. But
I was no.
It could have gone on for another couple of minutes for me, and I would have enjoyed it. So
yeah,
I love a good dance battle. I felt like I got I got chipped there a little bit. I'm yeah. But anyway, so while they're at the high school, they meet this woman named Sloan Waller, who I believe was a teacher or was teaching at the school. So at first, we don't really think much of her. We don't know any information, but we learn a lot more about her in the next few scenes here, because Ruby, of course, doing her digging that she does, goes to the golf course to get a lesson from Henry, because we learn that he was an instructor. And we learned there that Sloan was Henry's ex-fiance, and that she just loved going to see this psychic. She consulted Rose, the psychic, on everything. She spent all their money, and eventually the psychic convinced Sloan to not marry Henry. So the psychic was pretty heavily intertwined with Sloan and Henry. What did you guys have any thoughts on that?
I just thought that was so strange, to be that attached and use that much insight from a psychic. I just thought that was strange to me, but
yeah, I definitely thought it was strange, but I kind of suspected that one of the two to be the person who did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I thought was weird was like she like literally thought the psychic was her friend. I'm like, if someone's your friend, like maybe you'd like give her like some of your psychic services for free, like not take all her money, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, why are you charging her all the time?
Yeah, I don't pay my friends. Yeah.
But yeah, and we also learned that Sloane went to Singapore after she and Henry broke it off, and she went to Singapore to teach English. And now Henry initially was very upset, obviously, because the psychic ruined his almost marriage and took all their money. But now he's happily married to a woman named Monica, who also is working at the golf course. And Monica and Henry are having a baby, whether they haven't really told anybody yet. So Henry's story turned out just fine, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we meet another character, Emily, who's Rose's daughter. And did you guys think that that was her daughter when you first met her?
No, I
didn't.
Yeah, because she kept calling her Rose, like an employee.
Yeah.
Which Ruby questions her on later. She's like, "Why do you call your mom Rose? Like, she's your mom." And apparently, we learned that Rose, I guess, was very kind and loving to her customers, but not so much to her family, it seemed. So Emily seemed very bitter about her mother, which I thought was weird because she's working for her mother, or unless she was just there after the fact. And then we meet another colorful character named Travis True, who is a rival psychic.
Rival psychic.
And he threatened to kill Rose in a group chat and said the death card was coming for her. Rose called him a fraud and people wrote some bad reviews and he blamed her for all this bad publicity. And so how did you guys think of Travis, this interesting psychic character here?
He was definitely interesting. I kind of like suspected him, but then I'm like, that's too easy, so it's not him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought he was definitely an interesting character, definitely different. And I was like, okay, so we don't only have one psychic in this movie, we got rival psychics, and like this is really psychic. Like, wow.
I mean,
it's
what's
heavy on the psychic. Yeah.
Yes, and he comes into more suspicion because back to Ruby getting clues, she gets a second clue. Somebody slips a little envelope on her car, and it contains a little like device that has surveillance footage from the pawn shop / psychic shop, and we see an angry customer, and then someone who comes in after him, and the first customer turns out to be Henry, who had gone to see Rose because she broke up his engagement, and the second person turned out to be Travis. So Henry and Travis come under more suspicion for, I believe those were on the night of the murder, or very close to the murder.
Yeah, very close. Yeah.
So they come under more suspicion. And so I love that when so obviously because of this, Jake goes to talk to Travis, and let's talk about the reading. And he makes Jake take the little reading. What did you guys think of that scene?
That was funny to me. Yeah,
I thought it was funny in a classic Hallmark way. I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going, but it was funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and she was staying listening to it. Ruby, I'm like,
and Derek was of course being all he's hilarious. Like,
love
Derek. That's you. He's talking about you because he said some fiery woman is gonna come into your life. And that was really funny. And then Ruby, after that, at some point, goes back to the pawn shop to buy golf clubs because she's going to help Jake learn how to golf, apparently. Or learn to golf better. And she learns that Rose was interested in some boat guy who had a violent past. And the boat guy, his name turns out to be Captain Richard Kirk. And so she goes to see him. What do you guys think of Ruby? Like, we know this guy has a violent past. He was accused of a homicide for killing another guy on a boat. And she goes at night to the boat docks to go see him. So what'd you guys think of that?
I was like, Ruby, this is irresponsible sleuthing. Okay, like at least tell somebody like where you're gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like especially if you know the person, like, you know, is like accused of killing somebody, like, and it's nighttime. Like this is just not good things coming into play here.
Exactly. I was just like, girl, what are you thinking right now?
I know, it's like common sense, like just
yeah, exactly. Sleuth responsibly, okay.
Yeah, sleuth responsibly. Yeah, it needs a little.
That needs to be a T-shirt.
Yeah, it does.
And you know, Jake shows up at the scene because Angela, Ruby's like coworker, I believe, calls him. Thankfully, someone was thinking. Thank you.
Yeah,
I know.
And he shows up in the nick of time. So we have that whole story. Up at this point, were you guys suspecting anyone? I didn't really think much about Captain Kirk. I didn't like consider him much of a suspect. I was actually at this point thinking Monica was the killer.
I suspected the right person like halfway through. Like I was thinking the daughter, and then I'm like, nah. And then I was like, this person did it, and I was right.
I wasn't really sure what to think because they did seem to try to be selling the daughter and just how much like anger she had and stuff. But this was the second one I was able to guess the right person. The other two I did not, that we're going to talk about later. But I was able to guess the right person for this one. Just again, looking at why is this person here? Do they have, you know, anything purpose to be here really in this story? But yeah, at this point, I mean, I was kind of thinking more the daughter, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suspected Monica, and I think because we hadn't really seen much of her yet, like she was kind of like there in the background. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, maybe, yeah, I don't know. But I was wrong. But then we learned some of the key points that where Ruby puts together, because Ruby runs into Sloane at the high school, and Sloane lets it slip that she knows about Henry's baby. And how would she know about Henry's baby when he has not told anybody about the baby?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. So Sloane lets that slip. We also learned she lied about when she got her tattoo. She has a karma tattoo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the big thing that Ruby really puts it together is on one of the notes, she notices that the date is written with the day first. So we write our dates, month, day, year. And this one was day, month, year, which is common in other countries like Singapore, where Sloane was. And so, yes. So Ruby puts it all together that it's Sloane, and kind of cleverly tricks her into making a confession to the entire auditorium.
Yes, I like that part. I was like, oh yes, this is good. Like, get her in front of everybody, like listening.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever because, yeah, she just kind of leans her arm down on the little button to put the intercom. But we learned that Sloane, I guess, tried to get Henry back. And then he rejected her because he was with Monica. And so she blamed Rose, and then went. She was broke because she had given all her money to Rose. And so she tries to change Henry's mind. And she's like, well, maybe if I can get the money back for the house, we can fix this. So she goes back to Rose to get the money back, and Rose just laughs in her face. And she realizes, oh, this woman never cared for me. And she says she kills Rose. And I'm okay with the story up here, but what did you guys, the part I could not wrap my mind around, she started leaving the clues just so Henry could get what he deserved, because she was mad at Henry at this point. And that's why Sloane started leaving the clues to Ruby. I'm like, that seems too much of a risk. Like,
yeah.
The reason it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I was like, that just seems a little far-fetched. Like, this case has been cold 5 years, and now I'm going to stir it back up and risk my life to get back at my ex. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that seems like, would somebody actually really do that? Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, I know what you mean.
So that wraps up the mystery. So let's talk a little bit more about Jake and Ruby. So I don't know about you guys. I didn't really care much for the first Ruby Herring movie.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the second one. I may not have actually seen it. So this one was definitely my favorite of the few. And what I really enjoyed about this one in their relationship, so Ruby's ex comes into town, and I just love that Jake was so mature about it. He like literally just asked her like, "Oh, how is it seeing your ex?" And like they just have a mature conversation. It's no like, I'm gonna get awkwardly jealous even though we're not actually dating. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
So was there any like particular points that you loved about their developing relationship in this particular movie?
I just like them together, like, and I like that they were kind of like they were mature about it. You know, it wasn't like I'm jealous, like I'm gonna go stoop and not be mature about it. I like them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just wasn't like, all right, I'm gonna act weird towards you now since there's this other man that is in your life, and I saw you guys eating at the diner or whatever, whatever.
Right.
Like,
and like you said, they're not dating. So
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was cute, the whole like her teaching him to golf. I thought that was cute, just because it's kind of a role reversal. And also I know that we did the interview with Taylor Cole, she loves golfing and she's an avid golfer. So actually, I think she said in real life she has more golfing experience than Steven. So it's kind of like a real kind of moment because she, golfing something she does a lot.
I was wondering about that. I'm like, I wonder if Taylor can actually golf. Like,
yeah, and on her Instagram too, she'll have pictures like of her and her stepdad or like with her family like golfing sometimes, and she has the whole golfing outfits and the clubs and everything. So yeah, I thought that was a cute moment with them together doing that. The stand behind you, this is how you swing moment,
Yep. Yeah. And I loved at the end how she asked him, hey, really randomly, what's my favorite ice cream? Because I guess her ex had taken the audacity to order her ice cream or something, and then he gets it wrong. Like, oh my gosh, this guy.
Dude, you're looking bad.
If you already didn't think he was wrong for you, now you know. He orders your food and gets it wrong.
That's right. I forgot she asked him. Yeah, that was good.
But as we know, Jake knew her favorite flavor was vanilla.
Jake. Yeah.
Oh, it's vanilla.
So for this one, I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it a lot. I really couldn't get with that storyline of Sloane stirring up this whole thing just, to get back at Henry and risking, obviously, what she did, getting herself, caught. And I just wish, like, for a third movie, I thought they needed a little more, like, that Ruby and Jake needed some more, like, moments, like good moments together. Like I was really disappointed they didn't have a moment at the dance. Like where was that?
I was too. Like swoon-worthy dance scenes are Hallmark's thing. Like
just for a few minutes. So yeah, I gave it 3.5. What about you guys?
I'm gonna give it 3. Like the mystery I didn't really like, but I did like their chemistry, Taylor and Stephen's chemistry. It's not not my favorite out of the mystery series, but it's definitely better than the first. So
I would definitely agree with that, Caroline. It's definitely better than the first one, and I would say I'm kind of in between you guys, 3.25. So we're all in the same neighborhood here. So yeah, because I think they do have good chemistry, and like I just said, I was like, I wish they would have had like a few more moments with them together. But yeah.
All right. Moving on to our third one, we have Matchmaker Mysteries, A Fatal Romance, and this is the second in the series, starring Danica McKellar as Angie Dove, who will find you love, and Victor Webster as Kyle Carter, the detective. And I have to say, out of all like the detectives, I feel like Victor Webster looks the most like how I would envision a detective.
Yeah, he definitely fits the part. Like he's definitely my favorite detective. Him and Chris are definitely two of the best.
Yeah, I think he does a good job. I don't know, something about, I mean, he did play a detective in a Canadian series, which maybe that's part of it, is he knows how to kind of hold the notebook and stand and run and all this stuff, but yeah, I think he pulls it off well.
Yeah. Yeah, and so in this one, Angie is moderating a romance writers panel, and there's a particular writer named Beatrice Penn who's on this panel. We very quickly meet her assistant, Margaret, and there's another writer on the panel, Helen Travers, and then there was a third, Sylvia Donner, who's a no-show. So Angie goes to moderate this panel, and as the panel is starting, Beatrice goes up to read from part of her book, and this fan stands up, starts yelling that you don't really care about your fans, you don't answer my letters, karma's coming for you, blah, blah, blah. And so very quickly, it's not off to a great start for Beatrice. And she starts acting really funny as she's on the stand, like clearing her throat. She needs a drink. She ends up not speaking, and they just take her to the hospital to get her checked out. And then we learn later that she died and she was poisoned. And I believe she was also poisoned with strychnine, which was what was used in Mystery 101. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting. So we have another strychnine poisoning. It's
overuse of strychnine.
Strychnine is the poison of 2020, apparently. And of course, in this movie, we have another ex in town. We have Ethan, who's Angie's ex. And he's intertwined in this because he works for Evergreen Publishing, who represents Beatrice. And so he's their editor and CEO because his mother passed, but she was, that was her company, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this Ethan fellow. What do you guys think of Ethan? What were some of your first thoughts on Ethan?
I knew he wasn't guilty, and I liked the dynamic with Danica's character, Angie, and I like how jealous it made
Kyle.
Kyle, yes. Thank you. So I like that. It was cute.
I don't know. Ethan, I thought he was okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's like the actors that my favorite or what it is, but I thought that, he did a good job, but I didn't think he did it either. But they did try to have moments where they definitely like tried to make it seem like, that he did. But yeah.
Yeah, my first thought of him was, oh, that's the guy from Good Witch. She was like Cassie's ex, or
yes,
or at least wanted to date her.
Yeah.
But I actually really liked him. I thought him and Angie had some good chemistry too. So I was like, oh, okay, this is actually a pretty good. It wasn't like with Ruby Herring, hers is very awkward.
Yeah.
It was, it was kind of awkward, but they had a little bit more chemistry, I think, than in Ruby Herring. But anyway. So yeah, Beatrice dies of poisoning. So obviously this brings Angie into the mystery because obviously she's a matchmaker, so she should not be just bumbling her way into mysteries for no reason. But she gets intertwined in this, and then Margaret, who was the assistant of Beatrice, calls Angie because I guess Beatrice had signed a book for Angie's mother, I believe, and so Angie goes up to pick the book, and we learn that Margaret is more than just an assistant. She's Beatrice's sister.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys take that news? That they were sisters?
I did not suspect that they were sisters. It was shocking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it took me by surprise. I was like, what? And I was like, why does it seem like this is like very hidden fact? Yeah.
Yeah, because like she was very like Margaret was very like, oh, I don't know what the word is, but like when she like goes, she's bringing Beatrice something at the signing, and she like messed it up or something, and she seems like a bumbling assistant, like, oh, sorry, I did it wrong. And so Beatrice came off as like a very arrogant kind of sister, and Margaret's just like the little one, like in the shadow,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was surprising news. And she also learned some background about Beatrice, and that she loved to dance and got accepted into Juilliard, but she actually ended up having an injury where she shattered her hip. So instead she became a writer, and that's kind of how she got there. We also learned that Beatrice has an ex-husband. Well, almost ex-husband. They were separated and hadn't quite finalized the papers, I believe, named Ted, and he owns a restaurant. And then Margaret tells Angie that she thinks Ethan is involved with her sister's death. Margaret said that Ethan thought B was responsible for his own mother's death. I never really understood that, but that's what Margaret said. So Angie, of course, is like, well, no, it cannot be Ethan. Of course not. She talks to him and learns that Beatrice was planning to leave Evergreen Publishing, which would have killed the company.
Mm-hmm.
So we already have a couple suspects here. Did you guys have anyone you were suspecting early on?
The sister. Okay, I thought it was the sister like right away. Like, she had to done it, but
I did too.
Yeah, I did. And even though like I knew I shouldn't think it was her, like I just knew it just seemed like she had like so much motive, to do it because of, just the thing with her sister and, how she treated her and, the fact that she was the one who was, actually doing the writing. So yeah, I was definitely thought it was her, and I thought it was her till the end.
Me
I just
too.
thought she had too much. I was like, there's just too much motive for her not to do it. But yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of motive, and especially with their weird sister dynamic. So also during this movie, Margaret's house gets broken into. So her and Bee's house that they were in. And only Ted had the access code, so a little more suspicion with the ex-husband. Yes. And then we meet Sylvia Donner, who was not Sylvia, but a pen name for an author, who is actually a guy, because he doesn't think, women want to read romance novels written by a guy named Neil. So he uses Sylvia Donner as his pen name. It says he wasn't at the panel because his alternator broke down. Which seems a little questionable because his wife comes in and is like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with the car? Like,
yeah, that seemed convenient.
And so Angie, of course, cannot let any of this go. She's knee deep into this mystery by this point. So because she actually went to meet Sylvia. This was where Kyle finds her sitting on the couch drinking tea. And then she goes to the hotel to search Bee's room. And what do you guys think about her stealing the maid's cart and pretending to be a maid to get in?
That was so funny.
Yeah, I thought it was funny, like a fun little, adventure. And, Danica played a maid in, I think, another movie. So
a Christmas movie.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of a nod to that in a way too. So yeah.
I was thinking about that too. I'm like, oh, I love that Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm. And so in the room, she finds a cufflink with the initials EP on it. Ethan Plume? I don't know. That's what she thinks anyway. So during this whole movie so far, she's also, of course, she's a matchmaker. So she's got this woman she's trying to make a match for named Nancy. And she gets one suitor who's like perfect, meets all this woman's crazy high maintenance criteria. And then she has another one who's not quite what this woman is looking for. Mm-hmm. And of course, Andrew's like, well, why don't I just bring everything together? I'll set their date up at Ted, the ex-husband's restaurant, so I can just be everywhere.
Yep.
And so she goes with her assistant,
Paige.
Yeah.
Paige. So they go to the restaurant early to square away some details. And Angie's able to search Ted's phone. She finds out that B was texting him. So again, more suspicion on Ted, the ex-husband. And then Angie finds, when she gets back to her office, a file on her desk with letters from Caroline. Not our Caroline, a different Caroline.
Caroline's off.
Who was the fan that was standing up and yelling at the panel. And she goes to try to find Caroline at the address. She's not there anymore. She left without notice, so she's suspiciously gone. Then I go to see the other panelist, Helen Travers, and I guess Helen had started a rumor that Beatrice didn't write her own books. Mm-hmm. And Helen points the finger at Margaret. She thinks Margaret's responsible. So we got all these different things going on at this point. Then Angie visits Margaret again, and she sees that Margaret has a lit degree. A degree in literature. Because at this point, I think I already was pretty certain that Margaret was writing the books instead of Beatrice. What did you guys think?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why we all suspected her, because
just with that kind of a more even greater motive, like this is actually your work, and you're not
getting any credit, and your sister's treating you horribly,
and she's treating you terribly. So yeah.
And then, so again with the matchmaker story, she brings Neil, who is Sylvia Donner, and his wife onto the set to watch because Neil's wife really loves Angie Dove's show. And they get to see Nancy, the woman, match with the guy who she didn't think met her criteria, but was in fact perfect for her, which Angie knew all
Of course.
along.
Yeah.
She's a matchmaker. She just knows. And of course, we begin to find all the other pieces. We learn Margaret was in fact writing her sister's books because she felt guilty about her sister's accident, because I guess she was there and they fought, and that's part of why her sister like fell on some like cliff or something. Then the big final takedown scene, of course, Angie is in her office. She hears someone. She finds Neil creeping around. And he's like, oh, my wife left her scarf here. And I was like, but come in after hours?
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
So I guess, what do you guys think? So to me, he didn't know that Angie suspected him, but I still think it was really weird he would come there in the dark. Like,
that seemed weird.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, so I was a little curious. But he promised, so he also writes mysteries. In addition to romance novels, and he had promised Angie she would get an advanced copy of his next mystery, and she sees that he uses a different pen name for his mysteries. Eli Price.
P.
What? And of course, then Angie puts all the clues together, and she tries to call Kyle real quick, but Neil quickly puts together that she's on to him, and they have a little takedown with oh
yeah, this one was funny too.
That was funny.
So first she tries to just talk him down, and then Kyle shows up at the background and he gives her a little like head signal.
Yeah.
And she throws the clothes rack at Neil, which was really I think a pretty clever move.
Yeah, I mean, use what you got. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets her out of the way, it puts something in between them. And Kyle's all like, why'd you do that? I just meant for you to get out of the way. So, yeah. And it turns out, and I never really felt like we got a lot of information to make this connection, but I guess Neil killed Beatrice because him and Beatrice had an affair, and she was going to tell, or she wanted to come clean with her husband, but he didn't want all that getting out for his marriage, and I feel like we really could have never put that together ourselves. So yeah, so what did you guys think overall of this mystery?
It wasn't it wasn't my favorite mystery. Like, it just seemed kind of far out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just can't picture Danica in a mystery movie. So that kind of like, maybe that kind of affects me when I'm watching. It's just, she just doesn't fit the mystery movie type to me.
Yeah.
At least she's too sweet to be in a mystery movie.
Too sweet to be mixed up in murder.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like the Matchmaker mysteries like is lighter and has like more comedy, and that's why, because I don't really see her as the more like the slightly darker tone like at all. Just, I don't know, like you said, just because of how she is. So I feel like this one does bring like more comedy into it, especially at times. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I mean, compared to the first one, I don't know. I think I like the first one better. I don't know if it's fresh or
I like the
what,
first one better.
but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found I was pretty bored during a lot of this movie. It just didn't draw me in, and I'm not quite sold on Angie and Kyle yet. I think I like the end. They had a little bit of a moment at the end, but I thought it was so awkward when they went to visit Helen and she had that gate. And he just like flings her over it when she's short enough she could have easily ducked under it. And I was like, why are you just like forcing her over this gate? Like, I don't know. I was like, that was really weird to me. Yeah, I think they have potential. I think the mystery just didn't really capture me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But like with, at least with Ruby and stuff, she has to be in the murder and stuff. It just felt like kind of like they're trying to like make her be a part of the murder part. Like, it just felt forced. Like,
Because then too, like with that, like you said, like it's not her job. So then we have the matchmaker story, which again I was bored with because they didn't really give it a lot of attention because it wasn't the point, and so it just feels like this little
that's why
silly
I like
side story.
That's why I like the first one better, is because it was part of the main storyline.
Yeah,
right.
I think that helped. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for this one, I'd probably only give it like 2.75. I was pretty bored. I didn't really care for it.
Yeah, this is 2.75 for me too.
Let's see. I would say maybe like 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Seems like we're all pretty much on the same page, but I think it has potential. Like I think it could be really good. It just needed a better mystery.
Yeah, definitely.
But that brings us to our very last, but certainly not least, mystery of Aurora Teagarden, which we know has been going on a very long series.
Very long, yeah.
And I think this one was like the 5th one with Niall in it, where he's been a main character somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was called Heist and Seek, and so
that name,
that was a pretty clever name.
That's a good name, yeah.
And so, of course, we have the lovely Candace Cameron Bure as Aurora Teagarden, or Ro, as she is called, and Niall Mater as Nick.
Yeah, Nick Miller. Yeah, it helps because it's NM now. Mater and Nick Miller. That's how I remember it.
Oh, that's good. You're right. So the big part of this story is that there's a library fundraiser and there's this authentic crown headpiece on display that was supposedly worn by Queen Elizabeth. And there's quite a few people from this whole museum storyline. We have a guy named Talbot, who is our new security guard who was hired specifically for this event. We have Kelly Stevens. She's an assistant director of the museum, who was not a fan of this exhibit being brought to the library. She thinks it's too risky. She doesn't want it to be there. She was firmly against it. We have James Redding, who is on the board of directors, and he was he's the one who talked the board into letting this exhibit come. And so one of the initial scenes, we have them kind of setting this up. We have the detectives, Lynn and Arthur, just like very like, gotta, especially Lynn, she's like, okay, we gotta like make sure everything is together and like protecting this headpiece. And toward the big reveal, we have a man named Howard who's going near the stage, and Lynn's like, what are you doing? Like, get off the stage, like get away from the headpiece, sir. And he knocks over a tray that Philip, Rose's nephew, is carrying. It's this whole big, mess, and Talbot, the security guard, goes to get a trash bag to help clean it up. And so, of course, all is well at this point, although we know it's not, because after this whole, big mess with the food going on the floor, they do their big reveal, and the headpiece is missing.
Yes, of course.
And so this one was a little different in that there was kind of two people responsible for the crime. And the first one, they pretty much outed immediately. They start questioning people. They search everybody except for this lady, Maya Kwan, I believe her name was, who refuses to be searched. She's just like, no, I know my rights. You can't just, search me. So very quickly, they put together that since nobody has the headpiece on them, that, someone took out the trash when, Philip did. Philip took out the trash with the food, and somebody must have slipped it into the trash. And Lynn and Arthur reviewed the footage. They see that Talbot had been reaching into the curtains, and they quickly put together that Talbot put the headdress or the headpiece into the trash bag that Philip took out to the trash. But there had to be an accomplice because Talbot went straight, like he left straight away. He didn't get it from the trash. So there had to be a second person to get the thing from the trash. I don't know about you guys. My head was already spinning, and this is only like 10 minutes into this movie. I'm just like,
yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
And like I was like already hoping for something else to happen with Nick and Rose. So like I wasn't like I was like I need to concentrate. I need to concentrate.
Yes, we
But then I
know
couldn't.
from the previews that he's gonna pop the question.
Yeah. So like I was already distracted with that. So I'm like I had to watch it twice to like fully get it, you know.
Yeah, I did too, and was like, there's a lot of people in this one, for sure. And so very quickly, so we know Talbot put the crown in the trash bag, but then he gets shot.
Yep.
So that's dead end now because we can't question him. And we also learned that Howard, the man who was up on the stage and partially caused the ruckus, was a convicted felon for grand larceny. So he's been known to steal things before.
I didn't suspect him though. Like I knew he didn't do it. Like,
yeah, I don't think I did. I'm trying to remember who I suspected the first time around.
I guessed it right away who it was. Like I knew right away. I'm like, that's it. Like,
I did not guess it was this time. It was just so much going on. It's like a tornado of
Yeah, I don't even think I made a guess for most of the movie because there was like a tornado of information.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have some interesting information about Howard. We learn from James Redding that the first security guy who was assigned to the event disappeared. And his wife just thought he left because they were like arguing or something. We also learn more about Nick's friend Eric. So Nick and Ro have trying to set up Sally with Nick's friend Eric. He seems like a great guy, even though Sally's not really interested.
Yeah.
And but we learned Eric has bought some artifacts of that style before. And while they're learning some of that information, they're all in the library and Sally gets cold. And of course, he's a gentleman and gives her his jacket. But then they find a ticket, or Sally finds a ticket in his pocket from the fundraiser that he bought weeks ago. But just days before at the house, he acted like he never heard of it. So what did you guys think about this whole suspicion of Eric? So we learn this information, but then we learn very quickly from him talking to Nick that he's like, I just didn't want her to think, like I was a dork kind of thing. Like I'm like all interested in this stuff. So what did you guys think of him?
Like I knew it wasn't him because like I just didn't think it could be him. But like I did think it was kind of suspicious that he didn't tell, why he was there.
Yeah, I kind of the same. I was kind of like, okay, like why wouldn't he just tell her? Like, okay, I guess, like, he didn't want to seem whatever, but I was kind of thought it was weird. I was like, why is he? Because they were definitely trying to make us think he was a suspect because, they were trying to do the ticket and then the map and it was but yeah, I mean, I didn't like think he did it, but I just thought it was strange that he wouldn't just tell her.
Yeah, I felt like he was a very odd character. Like, I don't know. Something about him was like, I mean, I didn't like suspect him, but yeah, I was like, kind of like you said, like, why wouldn't he just tell her? Like, yeah, I don't know. He seemed almost a little out of place in this story a little bit. But anyway, so Ro and Sally search his desk, and like you mentioned, they find the map or the floor plan, I think, of the banquet room. He's like, well, that was just like given to me like that night, like it was just like in the papers.
Yeah, like everybody got it.
So we have that. So Sally and Ro do some digging. They talk to the wife of the original security guard. They learned that she tracked him on Snapchat and learned he had been at the docks close to where he was, I guess, supposedly having an affair. And that's close to where this woman lived. And so Sally and Ro go down to the dock to see, I don't know, because it was the last place he was seen. And they discover a body.
Of course.
Because why wouldn't they?
Like one does.
Stumble upon a body, yeah.
In a small town.
So the body is, of course, the original security guard who Talbot replaced. His name was Reyes, that was his last name, and he was also shot just like Talbot. And of course, since Howard has a past, the detectives search his home. They find a safe in his home that has a gun and same caliber as the one that killed the two security guards. But of course, before they have a chance to even talk about Howard, he's jumped out the bathroom window.
Dude.
But it turns out he ran not because he was guilty, but because being convicted felon, it's a violation of his parole to have a gun. but it ends up not even being the gun that was used to kill the two. They do the forensics and it's not. So, you know, obviously that kind of puts him off the hook a little bit there. And going back to the museum staff, we learn that James Redding is kind of like, basically they don't want him on the board of directors anymore. Kelly becomes the new director because she uses her like, well, I told you guys, like, you shouldn't have done this. And she's kind of savage, like, you know.
She is. I was like, wow, she's coming on strong.
Don't mess with her, yeah.
And we also learned that her brother thought about stealing the crown to teach the museum a lesson, which seems a little far-fetched. And so I forget why, but Sally goes back to talk with James Redding. And at the same time she does, Ro and Nick are together. And Nick mentions that James Redding's wife was a descendant of Lester. So there's like a personal connection to this headpiece. And they had never before then thought to search the wife. And so they searched the wife and they learned that his wife had filed for divorce. And they're like, well, maybe he did this whole thing to get his wife back. And so Ro calls Sally because she knows she just went there. And Redding sees right through that phone call. He's like, she just got told that, you know, I'm the person. And we learned that there's a box on his desk. It has the headpiece. It has this Shakespeare book that was also stolen. And he ties Sally up.
Golly.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to shoot her then because it would draw a scene, you know. So he's going to take her down in the basement.
Wait till it's closed, yeah.
Yeah, wait till it's closed, then I'll shoot you. But then I'm like, well, maybe I don't have to shoot you. I'll just leave. And so obviously Ro and Nick are going there because they know she's in danger. Arthur and Lynn are also close behind, a few minutes behind. And we have what I think was a pretty darn epic fight scene.
Yes.
Yes, I thought it was good.
Like, this one was fun. I like this one. Like,
yeah.
This is the
best
scene.
out of the
Much better than the fake pair of scissors from Mr. And I love how like Ro's just like standing with the giant spear, like.
Yeah, that was funny.
Right on play. Don't miss.
Yeah, she has experience of like how many movies? I mean, this is a lot. So.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing, you know.
Yeah. And Candace says she loves doing those type of scenes too, so.
Yeah. So I thought that was really well done. Even just like there was one point the camera angle it looked down upon Ro and Nick as they jumped in opposite directions. Like I just love like the cinematography of that. I thought it was like, it was just really well shot and done.
It was really good.
And so they wrap up the case. They learned that he stole the headpiece for the purpose of trying to do some grand gesture for his wife. I can't remember. Did you guys say anything? Someone suspected him from the beginning.
I did.
Caroline, yep.
Yeah.
What made you think of him? Or did you have just a inkling, or did you have a reason?
I just felt like he did it. Like he was just too, like, he was like, it's going to be okay. Like he just seemed like he did it. Like just the way he looked. I'm like, he did it.
He just looked suspicious.
Yeah.
He had the giveaway to Caroline. Yeah.
That's what I tweeted to like Candace on during the thing. I'm like, it's the British guy. I forgot his name. I'm like, it's the British guy.
Caroline just has spidey senses, and she just knows.
Do. Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the mystery. But let's get back to the big thing here of Nick trying to propose to Ro, and he gets interrupted
like 5,000 times,
more than once.
Yeah, it felt like a lot. Yeah,
because there was the dinner and at the police station, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, I was like, please don't do it at the police station. I know you don't want to do it, but I was like, in a police station is not good. I was like, just no. Even if you go outside the police station, but you can't do it in a police station.
I'm glad he didn't do it there. I'm glad Lynn interrupted them.
Yeah, I was glad that time. I was like, ooh, they just saved you.
Telling your kids, Mommy, I proposed to Mommy at the police station.
Like for the rest of your life. Like that's just so weird.
Yeah. And it was like right after she found the body. Like
I was like, this isn't romantic. Like, no.
But anyway. So the actual proposal happened at the library. What did you guys think
was-
about the final proposal?
That was so sweet. And I love the little line about like I want to like something about her eyes. I can't remember, but that was like so sweet. I love a good proposal,
Yeah.
and I love Niall. Like, there's no question. Like, Niall is like one of my top like Hallmark hunks. So that's why.
Yeah,
What about you?
I really liked it. I thought it was good that it was in a library. That felt fitting. That felt good. I like the way it was shot, kind of like down the aisle. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice, and I think Niall and Candace have great chemistry.
Me too.
So it was a great moment, and I was just had all the feels. So it was good.
Yeah. So you guys, this is the first time I've been on with you guys, so you might not know, but I'm not a romantic, surprisingly. But I actually thought this proposal was pretty cute. I actually did like it. Yeah, and I'm a little new to Aurora Teagarden, but one thing I thought a little interesting is it seems like the relationship progressed really quickly.
It really did. Like,
Considering the other guy was in like almost not twice as many movies, but a lot more movies than that. Yeah, it seemed in comparison, especially, it seemed way quicker.
Yeah.
But like the reason why I like Nick so much more is because like he supports her, like Ro, in her crazy like mystery things. Like the other guy,
Yeah,
Martin, like he just like, don't do this. Like Nick just goes full on like, I'm with you, bro. That's why I like.
That's true.
Yeah.
He did like he does support her. He's like, please tell me when you're doing something because I don't want you to get hurt. But he supports her like,
Yeah.
you know. So I do appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, unless she's snooping in his friend's desk, then a little less supportive.
Yeah, he didn't like that, but I understand.
But I mean, he was still pretty like chill about it. Like he didn't. I mean, he was a little irritated. I think. A little hurt, but nothing dramatic, like over the top dramatic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're a good match for each other. So, what would you guys rate this one?
Ooh.
I'll go with like 4.75.
Ooh.
I love Aurora's like my favorite mysteries, like out of everything, and because I've been watching it from the beginning, and so I like them, and I love Niall and I love Candace, and even though the mystery, like I knew who the killer was, it was still like I still enjoyed it, and that's why.
All right. How about you?
Yeah, I would say a solid 4.5. I enjoyed the mystery. It was kind of like you, Jess. There's like so much going on. I didn't even have time to guess because it was just like all this like chaos, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then it was over, and the proposal was great. And I thought the mystery was solid. I thought that was a very strange but unique motive. So that's like different. Got points for being different. So yeah, I think 4.5.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be just under and give it 4.25. I really loved aspects of this, but so I'm new to Aurora Teagarden. I watched this like the four right before this, the ones of Niall, pretty close together, and I thought some of the other mysteries were a lot more interesting than this one. They just appealed to me more. So I didn't like the mystery as much in this one, but I did like the other aspects of it, like the big fight scene and the proposal was pretty cute, and there was like some fun quirky moments too, like. Oh shoot! There's like this one part where like Sally is like all afraid of Lynn. Like you make me like feel guilty. And,
Yeah.
Lynn is
Lynn's intense.
The supporting characters, I like all the supporting characters in Aurora, like Lynn and Arthur and Aida and Sally. Like I think they all have good chemistry, like as a group, like because they've been doing it for so long. But like I just like them all together.
Yeah, absolutely. That wraps up this one. So yeah, we've covered all four of our mysteries. If you had to pick one out of all four of these, which one was your favorite?
Aurora, just because the proposal, like that made it, and then Mystery 101, and then Ruby Herring, and then Matchmaker.
Cool. What about you, Anne?
I don't know if I can do a whole order, but it's to be too hard for me to think about. But I just love Mystery 101, so that's my favorite. It's just I just can't get enough of Chris and Jill. They could just put them on everything and I'd watch it. So yeah, and I thought I was so looking forward to the kiss. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
And I was just like I was squealing. It was bad. So yeah, that was my favorite.
Yeah, I would agree. Mystery 101 was my top one, and I think Ruby Herring and Aurora were pretty close for me. I think I like them kind of both equally, and then Matchmaker was my least favorite. But yeah, if you're listening, let us know if you agree, disagree, which ones were your favorites as well. We would love to hear your thoughts on all of these 4 movies that we've recapped. And Caroline, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Twitter at MetaCarolineR.
And Anne, what about you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at awscott21.
All right, and you can find me at JessBSWblog on Twitter and on Instagram, and you can follow the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod or Hallmarkies Podcast across all social media, including iTunes and YouTube. Please feel free to leave us your ratings and reviews and give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you like our content. And thank you all so much for listening, and we can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. Bye, everybody.
Bye.